it's clear when you see Hamilton Pool that it's magical.
It's totally cool, spiritual, it really is.
If you go on the internet, it's listed as one of the top 5 or 10, swimming holes or, natural water holes in the world.
Native Americans have been coming this area ever since there's been people in the area. Actually, I think the most ancient archaeological artifact found here is a Clovis Point, which dates back about 11,000 years. The property has been in and out of private hands since the early 1800s. It was owned by Morgan Hamilton.
Governor Hamilton used to hide out here, and actually that's how it got its name. It used to be called Hamilton's Pool, and then it more recently was Hamilton Pool Park, and now Hamilton Pool Preserve.
This area was part of Reimer's Ranch, and the Reimers family were German immigrants who moved into the area in the mid to late 1880s. They bought several parcels of land, including the land around Hamilton Pool.
Bennet Reimers was a young fellow, 8 years old or so, when he discovered the pool. The family was raising livestock, and so when they first learned about this hole in the ground, they thought it was like a liability for their livestock, but it wasn't long at all before they realized that this was a natural treasure. And Bennet loved this place so much, all of his life, and he was the caretaker here, and he used to charge his friends to come and see it before charging the public.
And in 1985, the county purchased Hamilton Pool from Eugene Reimers. I remember seeing Hamilton Pool when the county first bought it, and it was really kind of nuked. It was a war zone. It had very little vegetation. There was a lot of trash and debris down in the canyon around the pool.
So you can imagine that meant lots of tire tracks and campfire rings, lots of ash and trash.
A major focus the first couple of years is cleaning the place up. So then we got into restoration. We brought in lots of native plants to reintroduce them to the area. We did a lot of restoration up in a field that we used to call the prairie.
We would have high bacteria counts from all the cows and other livestock that they were raising up top, because there wasn't much vegetation between that old road and the pool. Whenever we got a hard rain, a lot of sediment from the road would drop straight into the pool. And not only is the sediment an issue, but when we get sediment in the pool, it traps bacteria. And so a lot of the fecal bacteria would come down from the cows up in the pastures up above. So one of our priorities was to restore that road to native vegetation so we didn't have all that sediment coming into the pool anymore. At the beginning, habitat conservation planning was in full force. There was a lot of concern about how fast Austin was developing, so there was a lot of concern about conserving what is wild.
The canyon runs more or less east-west, and it's got a canopy all year long with the cypress trees. It's got perennial water, so there's always a great diversity of plant life here. When the word got out that this was now a natural area, all sorts of botanists and biologists and birders started showing up just at the booth and saying, wow, we want to see what you have out here.
This canyon is host to a population of eastern redbay, actually a pretty sizable population of it. And it's the only known naturally occurring population in central Texas.
We have an uncommon plant called a canyon mock orange.
There's a nice colony of chatterbox orchid growing along the creek.
All sorts of other uncommon plants that you might not find in other areas.
Hamilton Pool is home to golden cheek warblers that were emergency listed as an endangered species in 1990. At that time it was Hamilton Pool Park, and it was the county's first park that had a natural area focus. So really our purpose was to balance natural protection and restoration with visitor use. And it was the only one within the Travis County Park system where we had that dual focus.
I think the county's first designated preserve. The Corps designated it as a preserve in 1990, but it really got its preserve designation in May of '96 when it became part of the BCP, Balcones Canyonlands Preserve system.
And so we have this tension in Precinct 3 to preserve and protect that which is unique, the water quality that we all depend on, but also to understand that ranch land gets developed and how do we deal with those two truths.
The county in the last few years has bought up a number of conservation easements around Hamilton Pool. They also bought up Reimers Ranch. The adjacent properties outside the conservation easements that we've acquired, I would hate to see those properties turn into intense residential and commercial properties.
When we go to voters and ask them to pass bonds, you know, it's significant because without bond funding, we can't acquire new parkland. And yet we've seen how important parks are to just the health of the community as well as the preservation and conservation of land and water.